Welcome back to the Bitcoin Season 2 weekly live stream. Bitcoin Season 2 is produced by Blockspace Media. I'm Blockspace Media co-founder Charlie Spears. Bitcoin Season 2 is about new conversations and new topics on Bitcoin. I talk about the cultural and the technical, a lot of ordinals and runes and Bitcoin layer 2s, if you will. This is a live stream. This is Monday afternoons, this time roughly every Monday. I will do a little more news, more current events, and some metrics. So stay locked. Make sure if you're watching this to check out the charts that I've got. And if you're listening to this, this is mostly a visual presentation, so I'll be relying heavily on charts. I'll try to describe them as best I can. Make sure to check out other Blockspace Media content like the Glort Show or the Mining Pod and our newsletter coming out every Tuesday and Friday. That'll share some interesting insights, including the one I'm currently working on for tomorrow, Tuesday, on the landscape of Bitcoin leverage and loans to Ordinals users. So, in this episode, I'll probably talk about how Ordinals are dead, as per usual. It's a more Ordinals heavy episode this time, kind of at the bottom of the market. Talk about some of the interesting products that people are building in the Ordinals ecosystem, and then wrap it up with a treatment and discussion on the landscape of loans and defaulted loans in Bitcoin. So let's get into it. First of all, Bitcoin fee rates are down bad. We are now at 5 sats per VByte. This is pretty much a low. I think we may see 4 and 3 sats per VByte anytime today. If you look, you can see we have about 127 blocks worth of transactions left to include into blocks, which means less than a day's worth of transactions are in the backlog. So, but we're seeing a lot of folks start to consolidate UTXOs. We're seeing, as I said last week, the uncommon goods runes mint start to pump whenever fee rates go down. So we'll see. We may have a lot of latent block space demand ahead of us, and we will see if the mempool does in fact clear before the Bitcoin 2024 conference. One of my new favorite sites is runes.com, just to kind of take a snapshot and look at the runes market. Just on the day, it's a mixed bag, not a whole lot of movement. Dog is up, BAMP is down, RSIC is flat, pups are up a bit. But overall, Dog is down 50% from its all-time highs. Pups is down, who knows what, like 80% or so. Billy, which was kind of the starring, the winner of June, is also down 50% or so. But this is to be expected. These are reflexive assets in Bitcoin. These are meme coins. These are altcoins. I will just sort this handy feature by holder count, where we see uncommon goods, the number one owned rune by holder count, RunesX, Epic, RSIC, and Dog. This is interesting because I think these are pretty much basic. This is an interesting snapshot to look at the holder base and how these holder bases have come to diversify. Epic is the most recently airdropped rune. It's the rune inscribed from the Epic Satoshi, which was bid on via BT mined and bid on via BTC's partner platform. And we also see up here Lobo and Gob and Decentralized. These are pretty large holder counts, I would say, just for a novel ecosystem. We're looking at hundreds of thousands of people who are owning these. Maybe it's just the same 100,000 people own all of them, but there's not a whole lot of analytics that I think I've developed for the ecosystem yet, so I'll be tracking this and talking about it as we go. Also, just on the Ordinals prices, yes, we're going to look at this. Here's Magic Eden. Here's the 7-day view of the top 20 different Ordinals assets. And for the first time in months, over half of the top 10 collections are green on the week. So that is actually the top 5 collections are all green on the week: Runestone, Node Monks, Puppets, Cats, and OMB. Then Frogs, Blob, Billy, and Zbit down. Based Angels, a new entrance from the Remilio folks, the Milady gang. They are having a very popular and successful first week or two on Bitcoin. But this is really interesting because we're seeing collections are green on the week, and this may signify a turning point. I actually had tweeted about it, and I mentioned this in previous streams. Like, it feels like the market had bottomed out. This is not a forward-looking financial statement, but I'm just more reading the vibes. I've been here a lot. It feels like we're ready to go up, and I mean, we're seeing this externally as well. The Trump event this past weekend, combined with a market reaction, we are seeing um, really positive reaction across most markets, especially crypto. So just looking at one dashboard here, it's Domo's marketplace dashboard. Unique daily users by marketplace is ticking up. The past 3 weeks, we have seen an increase in daily active users on Ordinals marketplaces. This is somewhat bullish. It's just not maybe as bearish. It still doesn't really amount to a giant influx of users, but it's about double from where it was a month ago. Going into like what's been happening during this bear market. Um, People are still building. And my personal favorite person who's been really just like taking off with productizing things and delivering interesting products to market is LIFO FIFO. Some people say LIFO FIFO. He's got the Wizards of Ord collection. And he wants to announce that the Wizards of Ord website he's been working on for half a year is finally finished. Wizards.art. And this is kind of a tour de force in all of the novel tools. And LIFO has really led the field across the board for all the things you can build. He lists his collections here: Wizards, Rain, Nakamoto Archive, Cenotaph, Degen Loops, and also the two products he has led building. Rune Blaster, which is this kind of mass minting tool. Again, there's a few of these. Rune Blaster is a really good one, well designed. And Magic Pool, which is a mempool aware site with some sniping options. Sniping was also another notable topic this week. User had extremely painful experience trying to sell on Magic Eden, and that sale was sniped, even though they had used the Magic Eden's mempool sniping protection tool. This has spawned an Ordinals show Spaces, which is actually happening at this moment. I chimed in talking about some of the ways this can be prevented and some of the ways that it cannot. So this continues to be a narrative. As I mentioned before, if the market goes up, when the market goes up, that is the more optimal time for snipers to be sniping these ordinals and inscriptions, because the kind of assumption of sniping assumes that you can sell the asset for higher than you bought it at. So it really only works when the market is moving upwards. So this is just a general cautionary to everyone who is excited for the market going up. This also means that sniping activity will be expected to increase. So this is a very important time to educate yourself on where you may be vulnerable, what type of mechanisms and marketplace exchanges you might be vulnerable to when exchanging these assets, so you can reduce the surface area and risk for when you might be sniped. Going on to other Ordinals building news. Raf and Casey finally got back to working on Ord. As Raf says, it's been a while, but we finally have a new release of Ord. The biggest feature is a full address index, allowing users to query aggregated information of an address's UTXOs and assets therein. This is the first release of Ord in, I think, 2 months, and the first full version release that is not with a sub number, but going from 18 to 19 in several months. So as you can see, they've added inscriptions to the address page, so you can look up an address on ordinals.com and see the inscriptions. They added some basic, small quality of life features, and I think one of my favorite understated one is added charm to burned inscriptions. So if an inscription was burned or sent to op return, it will have a charm. If you don't know what the charms are really just an ordinals.com thing, which hasn't yet been adopted by the rest of the ecosystem, where it's like an emoji on the page of that inscription. So this PR comes from on-chain guy dash BTC. So glad to see Casey and Raf get back into it. They enjoyed a well-deserved break from really working on Ord and doing Ordinals coding clubs. They really uh white knuckled it into the runes launch at the halving. You might seem like runes have been out for forever, but they've only been out for uh for 2.5 months. So remember the kind of young ecosystem we're at here. Moving on to the last topic. One thing that I've not talked very much about here, and that I haven't really seen talked about very much from an analytics standpoint in Ordinals, is the landscape of Ordinals leverage. As the old adage goes, liquor, ladies, and leverage are the ways to ruin. And we see this. The Degen camp also experiences this. I'm certain leverage is uh, is a major factor. Some people love this idea of DeFi on Bitcoin, which to most people just means being able to lend against certain assets and earn yield. Yield implies some risk somewhere, and the risk is being captured by a lot of people who have been lending their assets. So the default for the ecosystem is Liquidium, and so there's a dashboard from user Shuduf Hadzao on Genie data. I think this dashboard is mostly correct. There are some discrepancies I've discovered, but I'm just going to go over this. If you're watching this, it's easier to see. If you're not watching this, I'll try to describe. Here's an Ordinals loan collection stats. I have them sorted by the amount of volume overall that these collections have done. And the collection that has done the most in volume on Liquidium, that is people been putting up their assets for lending, is Node Monks. Node Monks and Puppets are roughly equal, about 260, 280 Bitcoin, I think. Let me check this again. No, sorry, 320 or so Bitcoin in assets total lended from those collections. OMB, Cats, OMB Orange, then Green, then Runestone, Arsic, Frogs, Opium. So we're seeing significant volume. Liquidium themselves says there's been over $113, $113 million in assets lended. And the collections which have been lended against the most are kind of follow the collections by market cap. Your 10Ks, Node Monks, Puppets, and OMBs are going to be the largest by volume. But if we dig in a little bit further, we can see some interesting things. I'm going to sort this chart by default amount. That means let's look at which collections have had the most defaulting against them on Liquidium. And then we get to see a little more interesting activity. It's going to look almost the same. Let me see here. It's going to look almost the same. But it looks like the people who have been defaulting the most are typically indicative of, hold on, let me make sure that this is correct. Okay, so if we look at the number of defaults by collection, the chart looks a little bit different. At the top, we have Runestone, then Puppets, then Arsic, then Node Monks. And if we think about this, this actually passes the gut check. Most of these collections have had the farthest and most dramatic drop during this Ordinals bear market. Runestone and Puppets, Arsic, and Node Monks are down 60 to 80% each. So when you have a loan to value ratio of 1 to 2x, an 80% drawdown basically creates a margin call for your loan, and that puts that up for risk of going to the lender. So the loan defaults on Liquidium are almost a leaderboard of which collections have drawn down the furthest. So this is not really a surprise. I do think that there is some interesting insights you can get from this, which I will dive deeper into in the newsletter on Blockspace newsletter tomorrow. But I would just look at this and say, uh, many of these are collections I would love to have for a long time. And it's as if like the ecosystem has not learned that um, one of the hardest things to do when holding these assets over a volatile bull market is just to not lose them. And when you when you loan, I feel like a parent chastising their kid a bit, but like when you loan these out, you are subject, open yourself up to the reality that you might not pay it back and lose it. So I would just like to say going forwards, and when the market is going up and you feel that urge to lend that asset out and further leverage yourself, think twice a bit because um, if we consider Bitcoin as the most safe conservative crypto asset, these digital assets, these ordinals inscriptions on top of Bitcoin are basically a beta play to Bitcoin. When Bitcoin goes up, they go up more. When Bitcoin goes down, they go down more. Bake this into your risk profile. So I'll be doing a little bit further, deeper analysis on the like what I'm seeing as far as loan amounts and like default activity over the past 2 months because I think we got to see a fairly mature ordinals ecosystem really pull back and have significant volume of defaults across the board. So without further ado, going on to the last thing, which is looking forwards. Looking forwards, we have Inscribing Nashville next week. That's the precursor uh, 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 conference to the Bitcoin 2024 conference. I'll be there. Blockspace Media will be there. We'll be doing some live interviews at Inscribing Nashville in the back. Inscribing Nashville has the who's who. It's got Casey, Trevor, Udi, Aaron, Raph, Nick, Jan, Parker, Brian, Danny, Rindell, Amanda, me, Violetta, Sanj, Zero. It's everybody. So make sure you're there. If you're not there, we will be creating content and doing interviews with a lot of these folks at the event and having a pretty quick turnaround so you can watch those soon. Otherwise, relating to the Bitcoin 2024 conference, I've managed to only reference the Trump assassination attempt this past weekend once. If you were worried, Trump is going to be attending the Bitcoin 2024 conference. So, David Bailey, head of Bitcoin Magazine, BC and BC Media, says he's spoken with the former president's team. He is, quote, in good spirits and excited to see you all in Nashville and deliver a speech that is heard around the world. It's going to be a madhouse. So I look forward to hearing any politician say anything endorsing or pro Bitcoin and broader crypto. It appears that this is becoming a core part of Trump and the RNC writ large's position. So glad to see more politicians and institutionalists in favor of crypto. So without further ado, thank you so much for joining Bitcoin Season 2. This airs on Monday afternoons. Make sure to check out other Blockspace Media products, Gwart Show, Mining Pod, and our newsletter. And we will see you in Nashville. Check you all later.